Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to Thursday, the 3rd of October. Hope you're doing well as we head through this week. I got some rain last night, and hey, the markets, well, they ended up in the green yesterday, not by much, though. Basically, a flat day for all intents and purposes. Today, before jobs, we got some red ink. We'll talk about that and more when Dave joins us here in just a few seconds. Before we do that, though, let's not forget there are so many things in this world we have no control over. However, you can take control of your portfolio by knowing the amount of risk you have and making sure that it truly lines up with the amount of risk you should have in your portfolio. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement design. With that, so we got Dave coming up next.
And modern English doing what only a dock worker can do, stopping the world. Yeah, they are kind of sort of doing that too, aren't they? 8:42 here, time to check in and find out what's going on with money on the markets this morning. On the telephone is Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Phillip, good morning. How are you this fine, bright, sunshiny day?
Hey, good morning, Dave. I don't know about you, but man, I got a heck of a thunderstorm last night about 9 o'clock. My goodness sakes, it was storming crazy here.
You know, that might very well be why I had so much rain in my rain gauge when I woke up this morning. I went to bed about 8. I'm a very early to bed person, and I sleep very well during storms. But my rain gauge had like 3 inches of rain in it. Now, I hadn't dumped it since like Tuesday, but I figure I only got about an inch, inch and a half over the storm we had on Tuesday. I was surprised by the fact that I had over 3 inches in my rain gauge this morning. We must have gotten it too, but honest to gosh, I slept through it.
Well, that's good for you because it was lightning and thunder all over the place.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah, I think
yesterday,
it's bred into us. My mother always said she used to sleep real well during thunderstorms, and I think I inherited that tendency, for which in Florida I'm blessed because we get a lot of them. Setting up the table for this morning, yesterday, get up to my current numbers here. Yesterday was I'm going to call it flat. I mean, $39.50 up on the Dow. That's 0.09%. S&P was only up by 79 cents, and NASDAQ by just under 15. That's the kind of day you want to have once in a while because it tends to lock in gains or, unfortunately, sometimes lock in losses as well when we stabilize it at a level, don't we?
well, it does. It kind of stabilizes things. Everybody can catch a breath and then determine what needs to happen next as the economic news starts to float in. I mean, and we've got some of that news floating in today, and the markets are well, right now they're heading south a little bit, and in red ink right there this morning.
I think we're going to need some reassurance because we've gotten kind of mixed figures out of the employment pictures so far. ADP kind of surprised us with a number yesterday on the private sector job growth, but then the JOLT survey the day before talked about declining hires and declining quits, folks hanging on to their jobs with their fingernails. Then this morning, we get the first-time unemployment claims, and they're pretty much showing hold steady. I mean, we were 218,000 first-time claims last week, 225,000 this week. We're staying in that general neighborhood where, on an objective basis, measuring-wise, that shows a relatively healthy economy and a normal number of sifting and winnowing in the jobs. So we really don't have a clear picture yet. I got a sneaking hunch every time we see a kissing your sister report on employment, it's making tomorrow morning's monthly jobless report just that much more important, doesn't it?
It does, Dave, because that's going to give us a little better picture of the employment situation, as well as do they make any changes from previous reports? Because they're always coming back and adjusting prior months' reports, and that could play into the markets as well.
Absolutely, because those back corrections sometimes bode worse than the current figures do. Next week's unemployment claims might be interesting because the dock workers' strike is starting to have a hold on the economy. There was an article I read on one of my news sites talking about how they had an interview with the dock workers union president. He said, "We'll shut this country down." Gosh, thanks, guy. I appreciate it. Word is now frozen foods like hamburgers and seafood starting to run short in the grocery stores. And no, people, we're not out of toilet paper. That comes in from Wisconsin. Don't worry about it. But coffee is becoming in short supply. We're going to start feeling this puppy before too terribly long, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we are. And that's unfortunate that, we've got this situation where one industry, one union can really shut down a situation like this. And I read the other day that President Biden doesn't have any intention of stepping in and helping his country to continue to get goods from outside of the United States.
And that's the problem with politics at the moment. It's the Taft-Hartley Act that we're referring to. It was sponsored and passed over President Truman's veto, by the way, by a dominant Republican Congress back in the 40s, and it is about as popular as flatulence in church with organized labor. So what happens? We've got an election going on. Every single vote from union workers is really important to the Democrats at the moment. So President Biden, I would bet a nickel the day after the election, if this thing's going on, he'll invoke Taft-Hartley. But by then, the damage will be done if the dock workers strike goes that far.
Well, it definitely will be done. I mean, the damage is starting now, and so give us a week or two, and it will have occurred. And push up prices, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Because they're on strike, it's going to raise prices of the goods we need. The other side of the coin is if the companies give in to their demands, it's a huge wage inflation deal, and that's not going to help either, as everything is either way is spinning on increasing inflation.
Oh, absolutely. Now you add on the fact that a lot of the stuff on those boats is headed for hurricane relief for folks up in the mountains in North Carolina, not to mention our panhandle area that got whacked by Helene. We're also putting a monkey wrench into hurricane relief, so there's a humanitarian issue to this as well. I mean, I am not anti-union, but at the same time, the timing could be I can't think of a place where the timing could possibly work. We're barely recovering from an inflationary spike. It's going to cause that. We've got an emergency not that many miles away from where those ports are. And on top of that, we've got an election season, so we got politicians frozen with political concerns instead of what they probably would do if we weren't in an election season. I mean, can you think of worse timing? I can't.
I can't either, Dave. I'd just like to see politicians finally step up and start doing what's best for this country and not what's best for them. That's the key right there.
Ain't gonna happen. I got bad news for you. Other tidbits floating around this morning. You had something on NVIDIA. Their new CEO is saying all kinds of nice singing pretty songs, isn't he?
He is, Dave. He came out and he said that they're seeing insane demand. That's the word he used, insane demand for its next generation AI graphics processor known as the Blackwell chip. And so that's making folks happy with NVIDIA. They're up almost 2% this morning.
Well, that's good to hear. I've got the rest of what I got primarily is not necessarily good news. You talked about Humana yesterday and the fact that their clients are choosing lower compensation level plans. I understand their stock just fell like an absolute rock yesterday. OpenAI was doing an investor seminar, and they were saying that they didn't know when that was going to become a profitable enterprise, actually writing the software for artificial intelligence. And we got a few reports that are kind of spotty this morning. Levi Strauss, now they're a relatively new publicly traded company. I gather they reported, and they're actually thinking about whether or not Dockers is a line they want to keep, I gather.
Well, it is. I mean, earnings wise, they did okay on earnings. They beat by about 2 cents a share at 33 cents. However, they missed by just a tad on revenue. And they came in and basically, you're right, they're looking at making a change and selling off their Dockers brand. And so not good there. They also then trimmed their full year guidance, which you know what that means. That's not good when they start looking at stock price. So they're trading down almost 11% this morning.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Now, we're not buying enough jeans, and I gather we're not buying enough beer for Constellation brands either, I gather.
Well, Constellation Brands kind of in the same boat as Levi Strauss. They beat on earnings, came in at $4.32 versus $4.08. And they missed on revenue by just a little bit. Now they did keep their earnings, so they reiterated this full year earnings per share guidance. No changes there, and so that's good news for them. However, they're still falling about 2% this morning.
Oh, good Lord. I was doing a little poking while I was at it because I remembered something that I was going to talk about. Bank of America had a little outage yesterday. Whole bunch of their customers were reporting zero balances in their bank accounts and kind of scared the crud out of everybody. By the end of the day, they'd fixed it. I was kind of surprised their stock actually went up a little bit yesterday. Maybe everybody figured they'd pocketed all that money, right?
Oh man, that's interesting. It's never good when you open up your app and see that you have no money in your bank account that you thought you had.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of ruins your whole day. Any other corporate tidbits we got coming out this morning?
That's really I've got one more little tidbit. Hims and Hers Health. They
Huh?
advertise on TV quite a bit, and they do a lot of different things. But they trading down today after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said that there's the shortage of GLP-1 treatments from Eli Lilly have been resolved, whatever the issue was. Now, Hims and Hers, they benefited from that shortage because they had a compound version of the weight loss drug that took advantage of those shortages. And so now that shortage has been shored up, so to speak, that's got Hims and Hers trading down 11.75% this morning.
Whoa! Now,
Yeah.
when the low price alternative isn't as necessary, that'll do it to you. Resetting the table, a modest, very modest green day on the equities market yesterday, 45 minutes before we opened today. How are we doing?
Well, we've got a lot of red ink right now, Dave. The Dow is down 1/3%. The S&P 500 is down a little over 0.2, and the Nasdaq 100 is down almost 1/3% as well. On the other side of the coin, we've got silver retrenching a little bit, down a little over 0.5%. Gold down to almost 0.2. Crude oil up almost 2.5% this morning, Dave. $71.83. I mean, that's pretty close to where it was yesterday morning when we talked.
We obviously got a little bit of a cycle going on during the day. Asian markets are mostly off this morning with a kind of surprise on that. Hong Kong was down 1.5% at the close this morning. Everybody else, for the most part, is flat except mainland China, who's still firming up pretty nicely. Europe is kind of sitting back and saying, we're not too sure about any of this junk, so they're trading moderately down. The average European exchange index down about a little over 0.5% halfway through their trading day today. Getting a retirement plan together is important at any age, and it's never too early to start planning. How do I find you to start that plan, sir?
Dave, planning is why I developed the core retirement design to help people design the retirement they always dreamed of. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement analysis. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And Lord willing, if the creek don't rise, you and me tomorrow morning, same time here on Light FM. I'll see you then, sir.
All right, man. You have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your week's going well. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, have a great day. Bye now.